Welcome back to my 5 favorite people. Hope you guys are doing amazing. It's a new video and I got a video for you guys. You guys have been recommending a whole bunch. Let me go and jump straight into it. But if you guys like content like this, make sure you guys hit that like and subscribe button. It helps me to make more videos like this. The more that I see that you guys like these videos. Let me go ahead and share my screen with you guys so we can jump straight into it. Throw myself in the corner over here. So today's video, we're going to be going over how to safely use margin to buy ULTY. Now, I'm saying ULTY just because I say ULTY. This is for any stock, ETF, leverage fund, whatever you guys plan to use margin for. That's what this is going to be for. Now, I should put a hyphen behind the word safely because it could go your favor and it could not go your favor. Now, most of the times, if you guys know what you're doing, it's not too hard to understand margin. Put in perspective, I don't have a huge background in finance. Now, I don't know if I even talked about this, but I simply was just a financial planner. I was an intern financial planner for about a year. I learned a lot of stuff while I was out in the field. I took some things that I learned, some things that I did not like, and I was like, hey, I'm going to go make my own portfolio. I learned a lot of stuff from you guys. I'm going to do it on my own. So I'm going to give you guys some tips and things that I learned while I was at my financial advising job. Now, go to the bottom. I'm going to tell you guys down here at the bottom, disclaimer, I am not a financial advisor. I'm just sharing my personal strategy for educational and entertainment purposes only. So take what I say with a grain of salt before you do anything. Make sure you guys do your own research before using any type of margin, because a margin is almost like getting a loan, but it's simply through your brokerage account. So let's go ahead and jump straight into it. Before we do that, let's go ahead and show you guys the portfolio. First off, it is looking great. You guys can see we're looking at $11,487 as of today, which was yesterday. It was up $385, which is looking great. Now, you guys will see there are 3 pluses right here. These 3 pluses means that there were dividends that came in. You guys, if you saw the video from yesterday, you guys saw we did have a very nice dividend that came in from ULTY. It was I'll show you guys really quickly. Where's the history? $215 dividend. So that's going to get bought into and reinvested. They call it DRIP. If you guys don't know what DRIP is, if you hear that word a whole bunch, that just stands for dividend reinvesting, which means that whenever you guys do get a dividend from holding this ETF, it automatically gets rebought into the actual shares of the actual company ETF that you own. So for example, I got a dividend from holding 2,000 shares that came out to $215. So I'm going to pretty much just buy right back into the actual underlying asset itself or the ETF itself, and it's just going to accumulate more shares, which in doing so will increase the dividend that I receive the next time around. If I don't add any more money, all that will happen is that I will actually buy more shares. I think it's about 35 shares or so that's going to come in. I mean, we can do the math real quick and I can show you guys what that looks like. So for example, 215 shares came in from holding the dividends. So what we're going to do is, the share price right now is $5.57. Where we're going to take 215, and we're going to divide it by 5.57. So I'm going to pick up 38 and a half shares from just reinvesting the dividends that I received from holding the 2,000 shares. And what this does is it just gets 35 shares get bought in at this price right here. Now, I want you guys to notice something. We're going to get into the actual margin side of things right now. I want you guys to notice, it says right here, my portfolio value is $12,959. Keep that number in mind. If I go to the home screen, it was $12,900. You guys only see $11,400. And you're probably wondering, why do you have more in one singular position than what's showing on your actual account? Now I want you guys to see $11,487 is how much of my own money that I have put in to accumulate on this account. But that amount that you guys saw that was different, that is some margin balance. Now, if I go over here to account, you guys can see my actual full-on margin balance itself. I'm going to click on investing. You guys can see. You see right here, it says equity. Equity is your assets. Equity is what you own, how much money that you own, an underlying stock, asset, whatever it is. Now, margin is pretty much a loan almost. It is the exchange. It is the brokerage. They are giving you their money to use. So how it usually works is whenever you put $1 in, that dollar usually gets multiplied. So let's say if I were to put $2 into this brokerage account, I'm going to get $4 to use. So that way you don't always use the full amount. You want to use a certain amount. We're going to get into that, but you guys can see this is pretty much what I'm explaining. I put in $11,000, but I have, if I wanted to, I can use up to double that amount to use almost as a loan. I've only used 3,000, and we'll get into my buffer and exactly how much I use. But I just wanted to show you guys that ahead of time before we dive too much into things. Here's my actual portfolio balance. This is including margin as well as my actual equity. It's sitting a little less than $15,000, as you guys can see. But let's go ahead and go back to the screen and show you guys. So first off, you guys can see this is the actual portfolio. Down here at the buying power, you can see it says $7,000. Now, $7,834.62 right here. This is not how much money that I have in cash. This is not how much money I put in ready to use. Like I have $7,000 ready to use. No, I actually have $0 in my account of my actual money. As you guys can see right here, it says cash, zero. I'm gonna try to get it because I don't want to scroll down and confuse you guys too much. I'm gonna pretty much keep this very understandable at a level literally like a fifth grader can understand this. So cash meaning I have not put any money in, so I cannot use any money of my own. Like if I were to go find $5 on the street and put it into the actual account, that would be considered cash to use, but I don't have any money. So $0 here, my actual money. We're gonna scroll down, try to get just one. So margin total, this is exactly, you guys can see right here, this margin total right here, this is the total amount of money that I can use on margin on my account. Meaning, you guys know how I said, whenever you put $1 in, it gets multiplied. $11,552 is exactly how much I can use from Robinhood that they're giving me to use. So I have $11,000 of my own money. They can give me $11,000 of their money, which will equal out to about $22,000 that I could use potentially. If I were to use the entire 100% amount of the margin, I would have a $22,000 portfolio. But you do not want to use that much money, and we'll get into the reasons for that. Now, margin total, went over that. Margin used is exactly how much margin I have used to buy a stock or an ETF. So you guys can see I have used right now currently, think about it like whenever you guys go buy a car. A car itself, let's say it's $50,000 and you have $40,000 as a down payment. You're going to have to get a loan for $10,000. And that's exactly what this is. Imagine this right here is the loan balance. So let's say my margin used, it started off, let's say it was $5,000. It would show $5,000 right here. But since my margin used or my margin balance that's left over is now $3,400, I have to pay this off right here. So that way my margin goes down to zero. Same with the car. Whenever you guys get a car loan and you have a $10,000 car loan, you have to pay that $10,000 off. That way you don't have to owe any more money on the car. Same thing with the actual margin balance. Now, pending orders, don't mind this too much. It just means that I have some money pending that needs to get deposited into the account. So that's the main concept of whenever it comes to using margin. Now, there's some stuff down here using futures and stuff. We're not going to go into that. That is just something else, something completely different. Now, over here on the side, you guys can see, you see where it says margin status and it says low risk. Now, this is very important to keep in mind. Remember how I was telling you guys how Robinhood will give you double of exactly what you put in. So for example, how I have $11,000 in my account, they give me $11,000. You do not want to use the full 100% amount of the margin that Robinhood gives you, because what can happen is you guys can fall into a margin call. If you guys do not know what a margin call is, it's pretty much where the underlying stock, ETF, whatever it is, it drops too much in value where your maintenance requirement is below what it's required. I'll show you guys what that actually means in just a second. But if it drops below a certain amount on the stock and it hits a margin call, you're either going to have to pay in shares of exactly what you owe in that actual ETF, or you're going to have to add more money into your actual account to pay that margin call off. If you're getting a little confused here, this is where it gets a little confusing, so try to stay with me, and I'll try to explain this the best I can. But so you guys can see my portfolio right now is $7,741 above my maintenance, which is great. It's almost 70% above the maintenance that I need to require to not get a margin call or anything like that, but it's doing great. Now, what I recommend, and this is my personal recommendation, I recommend to not go more than 30% of your actual margin. You guys can see I'm a little more than 30%. I'm 33%, so it's nothing too crazy. But starting off, until you get the hang of it, don't go more than 30% using margin. And right now, all of my margin is pretty much going into ULTY. You guys saw that I have about $3,000, and most of it goes into ULTY. And that is due to the fact that I'm trying to speed up the actual dividend snowball effect. I'm saying all this, I hope you guys pretty much know the basics of finance, I'm guessing. If you don't, then we'll have to walk through like a whole course one-on-one exactly explaining what all this stuff is. But what I'm doing is I'm trying to speed up the dividends that are coming in. So for example, how I got $215 of dividends, I would have not gotten $215 in dividends because you guys saw that the actual amount that I was holding, you guys can see there's a maintenance requirement. I'll tell you guys right there. But the actual market value I have is not the market value that's in my account. So I would have gotten a lot less than $215 if I did not use any margin in this account. I probably would have gotten like $180 something. But what I'm doing is I'm using margin to speed up the dividends that come in. That way I can reinvest them and create that big snowball effect long term. Within a year from now, have a huge dividend snowballing portfolio. But that is kind of a way to explain it. I hope you guys are kind of understanding. I completely got off topic with this. I was supposed to be following this. Let's see where we are real quick. Okay, so we went over this really quick. What is margin? Like we talked about, margin is a borrowing money from your broker to buy more shares, just like we talked about. Example, if you have $10,000 with margin, you might be able to buy $15,000 or $20,000 worth of ULTY. Like I was telling you guys, if you put $10,000 in, you pretty much are doubling your money. That means that you can make more money when ULTY pays dividends, and this is where we are right here. But you can also lose more if the price drops, and that is very true because the actual asset itself, you guys can see right now, total return, we're up $8. But if ULTY were to go down to $5.47, I'm going to lose a lot more money if I'm using margin than just using my money because there's more money in this actual asset itself. So keep that in mind. You can make a lot more money, but you can also lose and have risk on the downside potential. So simple analogy, it says it's like using a credit card to invest. Powerful if used right, dangerous if you max it out. That is so true. Risk of margin, price drops if you still owe the broker. Now, what that means, you see where it says right here, you still owe the broker. Remember I was telling you guys there's a margin balance. You know how it says margin used right here. Let me drop it down for you. Let the screen load. Right here, margin balance. If I right now were to add in $3,400.66 or $3,466.88, I would not have a single dollar in margin. Let me show you guys real quick. What I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna deposit $100. This balance right here is gonna say 3,466. It's gonna go down to 3,366. Let's just go ahead and just add in literally just $100 so I can show you guys what it looks like whenever I'm paying off my actual just balance. So I'm gonna do $100. Just once. I want to go into my individual account. You guys can see I only have one account right here. I have $0 in cash. I'm going to review transfer. Transfer $100. Hopefully I have instant deposit ready so that way it actually goes directly through. But let's see. Sweet. Okay. Click continue. 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 Dismiss. I don't want any recurring deposits. Boom, just like that. You guys saw it went from 3,466 down to 3,366. So until I pay this balance off, I will not have any cash. Once I pay this full balance off, and let's say it's paid off, I add another $100, then I have actual cash to use. And that way, whenever I'm actually going to buy a new stock, it's going to take from my cash first before it takes into the margin. So I hope that kind of made sense a little bit. You guys can see my portfolio did go up as well. But that's pretty much the basic concept of the way margin works. Now, the way that I use margin is like I told you guys, I only do 30% of my portfolio is, and I like to pay that off every 2 weeks. So for example, my portfolio itself started at about $10,000 this earlier this month. So what I did was I took out around $3,000. Now it's changed because it's been 2 weeks or so I've already added a little more. But I took out about $3,000 of margin. I completely paid that margin off. And then from there, I use another 30% to buy more in. So that way, I'm keeping about 30% of margin going, but I make sure every 2 weeks to pay that margin balance off because I don't want to be in risk of a margin call at the market where to drop. I know we are in a bull market at the time of recording this, but who knows what can ever happen to the margin. It loves to go up and down. I don't want to be in the risk. I don't want to have to deal with any of those problems, but that is the basic way of using it. Margin itself and explaining margin. Now, the last part I want to go over before we jump back into that is exactly how to buy things using margin. That's what you guys are here for. How do I buy something whenever I have margin? So let's just take, for example, let's go NVIDIA. Let's go this right here. So you guys can see once it loads up, let it load over here on the side. You're going to see I have a buying power of $8,034 available to use. Now, that is not money that I have. That is Robinhood giving me $8,000 to buy in with to use. So I don't have $8,000. Robinhood has $8,000 and they're giving me the money to use. Now, let's just say I wanted to buy, let's do shares. Let's buy in 4 shares. Let's do 5. Let's do 6. I'm gonna do $100 worth. Okay, yeah. Let's do 6. We're gonna do 6 shares worth, and it's gonna come out to a total of $97. So here's my buying power available. Again, this is margin. This is pretty much giving me. I have a loan almost for $8,000 that I can use to buy any single stock that I want to use. You don't want to use that entire loan amount. You only want to use a small percentage. So we're gonna use just $100. We're gonna do a review order. And you guys can see right now we're sitting at $607.80. I have 37 shares right now. I'm going to click buy. Maybe it goes through, maybe it doesn't. I don't know. Yeah, it's been queued, so it's not going to fill just yet. It'll probably fill whenever the market opens up tomorrow or Monday, whatever. But whenever it does open up, the shares will get filled. And that's literally all you have to do to actually use margin. That's all you have to do. There's nothing more, nothing less, anything like that. Now, there are some small nuances you probably want to keep in mind. Just to know, now there are fees on margin. You're not just getting free money to use. Robinhood's not just giving you $100,000, $500,000, $50. They're not giving you free money to use. You do have to. There's still interest on the actual money. If you were to go over here, click explore your margin. You'll be able to see the fees over here. So you can see I have low risk, but my annual rate right here, you do get $1,000 interest free, which is great, which I do recommend you at least trying. You can use that $1,000, no fees attached, use the money, pay it off, see if you actually like it. If you don't like it, don't use margin ever again. But you have a free $1,000 to use from Robinhood that you can actually use for. Now you guys can see my interest rate right now is 5.75%. Now I have heard of people, they have talked their actual interest rate down. I am not complaining on a 5.75% interest, especially if they're giving me this much money to use. I am not complaining. I'm not going to really talk anything down. I'm great. I don't really transfer my balance much, so I don't have to really worry much about it. Now we're gonna click right here, view all rates. You guys can see you can borrow up to $50 million plus for a 4.7% interest rate. Now, less than $50,000, which is where I'm sitting, it is the highest interest rate for 5.75. But I'm telling you guys, these interest rates are not bad. And as long as you guys are paying them off, you are doing good. And the best part about it is, if you're watching the video, you probably know what a dividend ETF is. So whenever you guys are putting your margin into these dividend ETFs, the dividend that you are receiving is literally paying off the actual interest. I mean, just to take, for example, last week I made $215. That well foresees covers the actual balance that I would have if I have my actual interest. I haven't gotten an interest payment just yet. But you can see daily interest right here. This is exactly how much it's charging me for interest every single day. So if we were to take 39 cents and just multiply it times 31 days in a month, $12. I'm paying $12,000 for, what is that? I don't even know. How much am I using? Almost $4,000 of a loan almost of margin, and I'm paying $12 a month. I literally made $215 in 1 week. So this for sure covers all this. And I have very low risk. So, this is great. This is the reason why I use margin, but I use it very safely. Now, I think I pretty much went over all the actual tips whenever it comes to it. Margin calls, if ULTY crashes, the broker can force sell some of your shares. Margin is not free money. It does come with strings attached. And the strings attached is the actual interest rates. Now, the more you actually have, like, for example, if I had $500,000, I'm not going to be paying 39 cents in daily interest. I'm going to be paying a lot more in daily interest because the actual amount that I'm using is a lot higher. Now, this is pretty much the very bottom part of the video. It says, here's my personal strategy in simple words. I always keep a 60% buffer. This should go up to 70%, meaning I don't push margin anywhere close to my max, and I definitely recommend you guys doing that. Not financial advice, but I recommend you guys probably never going over 50%. I don't care how much money you have. Don't go over 50% because it is not going to be safe. I usually take around, now this is what I had at the beginning of the month, but I usually take around 30% of margin. Don't mind the 3,000, 30% of margin. And I don't keep it running forever. Every 2 weeks or at the end of the month, I pay it back down to zero. And then I rinse and repeat the cycle until you guys know we're trying to get this portfolio to $100,000 so that we can have a big huge dividend snowball. This way, I collect dividends on extra shares, but I don't stay over leveraged. Think of it like this. I don't just borrow and leave it hanging. I use margin almost like a short-term tool to grab extra ULTY, collect a couple dividends, and then pay it back before it snowballs. And that's it. That is simply how you guys use margin. I tried to explain margin. I probably went on like a rant of some extra stuff that you guys probably didn't need to hear, but that pretty much explains how margin works. Now, I will say you guys do have to have $2,000 in your account to actually get the ability to use margin. I think it shows it on here somewhere. Is it settings? Okay, it doesn't say it on here, but you do have to have $2,000 in your actual account. So once your balance does get to $2,000, what you guys can do, what you're going to do is you're going to come over here to, it should be investing, and you guys will see there is a button right here that says margin investing. What you're going to do is you're going to enable it, or you're going to, enable it. It's probably disabled right now. You guys want to enable it, so that way you guys can use margin. But you probably won't even have this option until you get to $2,000 into your account. Once you do, go ahead and enable it. Like I said, you do get the first $1,000 interest free, so you don't have to pay any interest rates on that. But once you guys do proceed $1,001, you will start paying some interest rates on that. But that is the basic way of explaining exactly what margin is. Make sure you guys are staying safe with margin. If you have any questions, let me go ahead and pull the screen back in so you guys can see me a little better. If you guys have any questions or concerns, I think I went through a pretty decent video. I mean, I know I could spiral here and there, but I feel like I went over all the concepts you guys need to know about using margin. You don't necessarily have to use it for a income producing ETF. You guys can simply use margin just to buy a stock. Now, I would not recommend buying a stock if it's at the all-time high. For example, don't buy Tesla right now with the margin, because you guys know Tesla's at an all-time high. It's going to pull back down. If we're in a bull market and you know that a stock's at a really good low price and you know it's going to go back up, that's when you guys probably want to buy some margin. Pay the margin off on the way back up, especially if it's paying dividends. Use those dividends to pay it off, and then boom. Once you guys paid off the actual margin balance, that is now equity for you guys to use. So, for example, how I have $3,700 and margin. Once I pay that $3,700 off, that is now equity for me to use. And then I'm going to rinse and repeat, and then keep going. So hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you guys have any questions, let me know in the comment section. Just stop by, tell me how you guys' day is going. I love to talk to you guys. If you look at my previous videos, I respond to almost every single one of you guys' comments. I work from home, so I love to talk to you guys, and we all are in this journey together. I know some of you guys have some huge portfolios. I seen one person has over 10,000 shares of ULTY, which I know you guys are living amazing. One person is about a year out from retirement. You guys are doing great. Just want to let you guys know I'm proud of you. Stay disciplined, stay consistent. And if you have any questions, let me know in the comment section. Make sure you guys hit that like and subscribe button. It helps me make more channels like this so I can get more videos out like this quicker and faster. Hope you guys have a great, amazing day, and I'll see you guys soon.